My next guest went from a one-bedroom apartment in Medford to a more than billion-dollar fortune, and he's given nearly all of it away. Since founding the Cummings Foundation, Bill and his wife Joyce have donated more than $200 million to charity, and ultimately they plan on giving away almost all of their money. In 2011, they became the first Massachusetts couple to sign the Giving Pledge. They joined Warren Buffett, Bill and Melinda Gates, and other billionaires in vowing to donate the majority of their wealth to charity. It's all part of Bill Cummings' new memoir, Starting Small and Making It Big, an entrepreneur's journey to billion-dollar philanthropist. He joins me now. Bill, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for being here. What separates you and your wife? There are about 175 people signed the Giving Pledge. What separates you and those 175 from 2,000 other billionaires in the world who've decided not to do what you have done?
I don't know what separates us. I do remember the first time that we went to a meeting of the Giving Pledge, and we walked into a large hall. At that time, there were perhaps 65 or 70 other members, and we knew immediately we were the poorest people in the hall. That hadn't happened in a while.
But what's in your bones? I mean, is it Medford High School, which you note in your book is probably the only high school in the world that has two members of the Giving Pledge, you and former Mayor Bloomberg. What is it? Was there an epiphany, or was it a gradual progression that got you and your wife where you are?
The epiphany was probably a visit that we made 12 years ago to Yad Vashem in Israel, and we befriended a particular Holocaust survivor, and he later came back to Boston with us and spoke at Tufts and spent a couple of days there, and we got to know him well, and that was the time that we trace ourselves and say, this is when we decided it was time to start doing something.
And you, too, have given a lot of money to genocide and Holocaust history as a result of that encounter. When you told your kids that, by the way, this is what we want to do with our money, what was their reaction to this?
It was 100% favorable. I will tell you that we've got 4 adult children, and all 4 of them had already been provided for in more than they wanted, and all 4 have made substantial, being 7-digit contributions to Cummings Foundation.
Speaking of more than you wanted, maybe you can explain this to me. Marjorie Egan, my radio colleague, and I were discussing this on the radio. Why have some people decided that it is necessary to amass so much wealth, so much more than you and your kids and your grandkids and 10 more generations of their family can ever spend, that's more important than helping their fellow men and women as you've decided to do? What's behind that?
I can only speak for people who are in business, and I think being in business is like being a great golfer, and you don't want to stop when you're 60 years old. You want to go into the senior league or whatever. You want to keep on playing. You want to keep on winning.
So it's almost a game or something?
It is a game of business. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I think there's something better about doing what you're doing, frankly. But
I still do it, though.
I understand that. In your book, you also talk about how you're encouraging other similarly lucky and successful people to integrate philanthropy into their living. What's the pitch? What do you say to somebody who hasn't done what you and Joyce are doing as to what's the value of that, both to the receiver and to the two of you?
If you think about it a little bit and think of a dozen successful businesses that you know, or 100 successful businesses locally, all of them can do something. We try to encourage them, as an aside, to donate through their employees, as Cummings Foundation does, as Cummings Properties does. Cummings Properties is where the foundation gets all of its funds. We lease real estate and give the funds to the foundation. The employees, every employee, first of all, gets to give away $1,000 to a charity, or $2,000 now if they've been there for 10 years or more. So there's 370 employees are doing something that they wouldn't otherwise do.
What does it do for you? I mean, I think you give to local foundations. We talked about the Holocaust and genocide. You've given large amounts of money to an effort to expand healthcare in Rwanda and things like that. What does it do? It's pretty obvious what it does for those who get the money. What does it do for you and for Joyce to be the beneficiaries of these causes?
It's hugely satisfying to us.
Why? How?
Just that we're doing something that is meaningful after we're gone. There's something there that is going to help a lot of other people, and we're looking at 90% of the organizations that we support, a much higher number probably, are small local groups that we've never heard of before. We have a lot of community volunteers who make the decisions where it goes. And I mentioned Carol Donovan's name to you earlier,
yeah,
and I mentioned
great.
Susan Solomon.
Yes.
Both of them are on volunteer committees. There have been several college presidents there. There are a lot of local teachers, a few local police officers, and people from all levels of our company, not in a management role, come, and they are one person on a committee of 4 that are deciding who the finalists are going to be, who's going to get a check for $100,000 next week when we have our 100 for 100 distribution. We distribute $10 million in one night to 100 different organizations, most of which even you would never have heard of. You wouldn't know the name.
Me. You know, Bill, I hope you would agree that no matter how many Bill and Joyce Cummings there are, government still has an obligation, maybe even a greater one, to the people and organizations and causes that you support. So let me ask you 2 quick things about, there's a proposal on the ballot in November to ask millionaires, people who make more than $1 million a year in Massachusetts, to pay a surcharge of 4%. All of that $2 billion would go to transportation and education. Is that a good idea?
For the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it probably is a good idea. I don't mind it. I don't object to it because we're doing it, so it doesn't have any effect.
Okay, one more government thing. A guy you write about who you're not, I think it's fair to say, not terribly kind to at the end of your book is the President of the United States. What is Donald Trump's view of the world done to the kinds of things that you've dedicated your philanthropy to? What impact does he have on our sense of our relationship with our fellow citizen and human?
I think it's a tremendous amount of damage personally. You know, and I'm not a political person.
No, I know you're not.
At all. And I'm sometimes sick when I see the things he says and the outrageous statements he makes. He's the President of the United States. He deserves our respect. At least his office does, if not him personally. And I don't like it, but you know, it's there. And
it makes you, I assume it also makes you more committed to doing what you're doing?
It does.
I know it did. Bill, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for your work. Your book is terrific.
Jim, thank you
really
so much.
Good to see you. Keep on doing what you're doing, and I know you will.
Appreciate it.
Best to your wife as well. Book again is Starting Small and Making It Big, an entrepreneur's journey to billion-dollar philanthropist.